Kia ora, talofa everybody. Thank you for watching. My name's Katrina and this is my partner Hoani, and today we're going to talk about our journey and preparation and some of the struggles that we faced purchasing our whare, our home. So I thought we could talk about first the types of homes that we grew up in. So for myself, I really only had one true home my whole life up until the age of probably mid-30s. So it was our own home and purchased and built by my parents, my mum and dad in Flaxmere. And throughout like our whole lives or our whole young lives, our mum had always made it really clear that we were really lucky to have our home. And at a young age, I didn't quite understand what that meant. She'd always discuss it as though, we're not renting. Not that I understood what that meant either. So, looking back at it now as an adult, definitely fortunate. Probably, one of the first few Pacific Island families in Flaxmere that I believe, owned their own home way back then in the late 60s, early 70s. So for yourself, hun, did you grow up in a home that your parents owned or was renting something that was common for you?
Oh no, pretty much in the 70s. My parents pretty much had in Mangere in Auckland, rented homes up there when they first built, like the Kainga Ora that they have now. Homes are like that. It was pretty much the homes back then in the 70s was like Kainga Ora homes, and probably were there. I was born in 73, so 78, 79, that's probably when we moved from then down here to Heretaunga. And pretty much we stayed with people that were staying in the same area and where we were in Auckland and Mangere. And we probably stayed with them a bit too long.
Mm-hmm.
6 months was a long time.
Yep, to be living with a whole other whānau.
Yeah. No remorse from them or anything. I mean, but yeah, I understand. Now, back then I didn't understand. But Mum was a cleaner at the school at St. John's, and that's pretty much Mum and Dad were still married then.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think she asked around to see, they've been trying to look for a home, but we had this old home in Flaxmere, very old home, like old. Holy floors, and pretty much we had pretty much nothing while we moved in, because we needed to get a house, because there was 5 of us. My little brother was only a baby then.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we were there for probably 5 years in that house, and it was really old.
Yeah.
Like it was that old. There was a hole in the sitter room, like a big hole, and and it was cold. There wasn't the only hole in the house that we had. Pretty much we were sleeping in our boxes of clothes for our beds.
Was your home, or as you can remember growing up, were your homes always kind of like that, or do you remember them as being warm and enough space, and something that wasn't a stress for your parents, or there was always kind of a feeling to get, a healthy home for you, or was always a stretch for mum and dad?
Oh no, but they needed to to get out of Auckland because the gambling, the parties, they were pretty
Mm.
bad.
Yep.
And plus the people that Dad was, our mum and Dad are best friends with Dad, and so that's who my little brother was named after, Ricky Newton. That was the family name that we stayed with.
Mm-hmm.
Pākehā whānau, but we needed to get a house ASAP. Didn't care how bad it was, but we kind of we needed our own space. But even though that, when we moved in there, the parties
Yep.
and that started
They
coming
just
too
kind of
as
followed
well.
to the lifestyle.
Yeah, and then pretty much, the kai was less.
I know I always remember you've talked about your nans up there in Auckland. So were those homes where the nans lived their own?
Yeah, both of my nans, across the road from each other, they owned their homes. Um, my dad's mum, she had her own home. It was all with her. We're pretty much where I grew up, and all my other cousins and that grew up was that was the foundation of all of us when we were growing.
Yep.
But didn't want to stay with her at the time because she was going through some issues.
Yeah.
But and that's when Mum and Dad kind of parted ways to do their own thing, and then
Did you ever think growing up, or even understand the concept of renting, owning, flatting?
No, we didn't realise what that meant.
No.
We just thought a house was a house. That's ours.
Ownership.
No one owns
Never
it.
really thinking about.
Until I got to really my late, probably 30s. Shame. Late 30s was like, oh, and my way of my parents is like, no, we only rented this home.
Yeah, I grew up in Flaxmere, of course, and I've bumped into a friend from years ago from that time, and we talked about ownership, and she was a best friend of mine growing up, and now she said her and her husband now look to help their own blended whānau into a whare, and those children of the blended whānau are all going in ways to be able to buy a whare with the help of the parents. And I had said to her, I remember clearly, there was the McGregors, the Kennedys, us, we all lived in Flaxmere, really humble beginnings, and our parents owned their own homes. Never thought anything of it, just thought, probably like yourself, a home is a home. But clearly remember our mum expressing, that idea that we own our own home. It's a really proud thing and a privilege and hard work to get to that stage. So if we fast forward to ourselves, like I said, I was born and raised in the same house in Flaxmere until I moved on from that. And then for yourself, you'd done a period of your life over in Australia in rentals.
Yeah.
Was that something hard to come by over there?
No, not at the time. In the 90s and mid-90s, it was pretty easy, for jobs and rentals for homes there. We could go and then just get it, probably just look for it maybe less than a week, and then you get a place. Now it's very hard. Very expensive now. When at the time when I was working there in the city, close to the city, we only had a townhouse, and that was maybe three rooms and a sleep out, just a little sleep out there, and we were paying just over $400 a week, and that was pretty. That was
Average and affordable back then.
affordable
Yeah,
back then.
raising a big family in the city.
Now that's 3 times now.
Oh yes, no doubt.
Mm.
I remember probably being in my late 20s, and so we had taken over and incurred more of a mortgage, but I can recall making sure there was not even $190 a fortnight to go out to pay a mortgage. And then I'd hear of friends renting probably, say, $150 a week for a 3 bedroom. And at that time I used to think, oh my gosh, you're being ripped off. Probably because I would look at how much a mortgage is, compared to renting. So, of course, you and I have rented how many homes together? 1, 2, 3. 3 homes together. All probably not really thinking of buying a home. And it was when I was working over in Australia, and I remember we talked, and you'd said there's a possibility we could go in to have a look at or start the process to going into a home. And so even from where I was, we did all of, had the checklist, get all of this information. And I'm used to that, in my marriage we'd had 3 homes, so I knew and understood to come up with the information. It is quite time consuming, but what surprised me with you, it was such a private, personal thing for you to release that information. And to me, I thought, well, of course they need it. Without going forward, we have to provide it. And then you would come back to me and say, well, I don't want to give it, or they don't need to know that part of my personal stuff. So tell me how you thought we were going to get further into the application without giving that over, or because you were new to walking into home ownership.
It was pretty much, what do you need to know what I do, like basically every day with, the transactions and whatever. I just thought that was like, hey, I'm at McDonald's or something like that. That kind of stuff. I didn't even know that it was a problem, and that is a problem. But
looking at it now, you understand it to be affordability.
The other thing I didn't know anything educated on anything about. These are the things that needs to be addressed. They didn't teach you at school. Not that I was listening at school, because I wasn't a good student at school. I was learning.
But I think also not just like the preparation from your young life, going through life where it was always an automatic to go into a home is to rent a home, so that would have been your thinking. Yeah. So I remember we had to come up with all sorts of bank details, employment details, and just really laying it out bare to people that we didn't know. And that was something that took a while, because they'd come back and and it was all done by email.
Yeah.
So, you had to source all your information, and I remember you would give it to me or email it to me, and then I would email it off. So it's this big circle of going back and forth. And then when you wouldn't give the right information, I think I found it frustrating, because I knew it could be simpler, but then just because I felt like that doesn't mean that you understood the process as well or accepted the process.
Yeah, well, then they look back at your history and like, you had some fines, and all of these fines, that kind of stuff that they were looking at. Other stuff like, what else were you doing with your money at the time?
Yeah.
And I'm like, none of your damn business. But that's what they're looking for. You are. To me, I was like, just because the damn money, that's how I was just, just saying like that. But it doesn't work like that, and I didn't know.
No. We had, we kind of went through a part-way process looking at the suit and whare, and then that tripped up. And that was because of my bankruptcy. I had a previous bankruptcy that was just about to click over into the 7 years. And that was something that I just completely forgot about. I had applied, it had all been processed, at just living normal life. And I knew within myself that that was something that would prevent me or stop me from going for, like, say, a high purchase. Like, I was just buying everything in cash, which was good. Income was fine, so it's not like I was looking to do personal loans or anything like that to use a credit card. But when we got tripped up by that, that was like such a big block. Do you remember? I remember the response from the banker at that time, and it was just right there and then we'd gotten so far. And as soon as I said that bankruptcy was something that I'd gone through, it wasn't even an option after that. It really was a closed door, and it was just such a sad time, because I thought it was my fault, because I knew how much I earned. I thought, oh yeah, it's all adding up. And then when that happened, and I remember you, I kind of led this whole thing and had to really offer you, like, support you through into making sure we had all what we needed to do. And then it was like it was my fault that we lost out on that. I know that you never thought that,
No, I wouldn't have thought that. No, I didn't think that. I was going, oh, well, okay, there's some other way. You can kiss my ass if you want to just say, I want to.
And I remember that was your reaction. You were just so hurt that we'd given all the truth, the honesty on paper and everything. And then I remember you said to me, well, what are they going to do with that information now? That's ours. What are they going to do? And me, I'm just like, I don't care what they do with it. They can't do anything with it. Yes, they know. But you were just nearly like, quite obviously vulnerable. It was like you were really violated because you'd opened all of this up to be speculated, and then it was. But in the real world, this happens all the time.
I wasn't used to that. I spilled my nuts out just for a stranger, just to say, oh, good, thanks for saying you got scabby balls, but sorry, it's not accepted.
That was that kind. And so I think we had maybe about 2 to 3 months. So we just kind of moved on through life a bit. Yeah. But I still knew, because we were in a rental, which was great to have, but it just felt so unstable. Like, to me, it was at a time, it was post-COVID. You could just feel it in the air, and you'd hear the stories, read the stories that people were asking to be, vacate the house for whatever reason. And that's all I could think about. And I could see how much you were doing to the rental. And I would say, well, we're spending money to do this rental. And I believed we shouldn't have to, because we already pay and we should be asking the landlord to maintain certain things. But I know that because you had such a big history of renting, you kind of knew not how to play the game, but to be a good tenant, and not to be looked at as somebody that was going to, ask for more, even though we weren't. It's well within your right. So I kind of struggled with that too.
Yeah, well, that's all I kind of had is, didn't want to say, even though you were paying rent, you got to still make work. Doesn't matter whose house it was, you still got to make it look real nice and homely and all that stuff. But got to make it clean or do the best anyway what you can. Yeah. I've always done that.
Being really house proud. Yeah. I always just felt that I would be like, no, we already pay this much, and I'm always totaling it in my head how much. And fair enough, this is the agreement you go into. So then we had finally sat down with each other and said, come on, we were that close to getting a home before. Nothing's changed financially. We haven't lost a job or anything. We can actually go and do this ourselves, because that previous arrangement, there was a lot of support in order for you to get the whare, to get the house. And then I thought, no. So we looked up this house, and I said, okay, let's go and do a weekend. We only did one half of a Saturday, and no matter what I tried to say to you about just be open-minded, every house we'll go into, we'll just have a look. But I think straight away, whatever house we would see, you were, no, I can't live there. But in my head, it wasn't about us actually choosing that particular house right then and there. It was opening ourselves up to, okay, this is the possibility. So our home that we have now was the only home that we actually did a proper inquiry into, and and had a look.
Yeah.
And I remember, so we went through the whole process of going through the loan, and we actually used the same mortgage broker from that failed application into getting us into here. Yeah. And how did you think all of that went?
Hated it. Hated it. Just trying to just cling on to, there's going to be another failure and all that stuff. Blah, blah, blah.
There was a lot of emotion, like anything that she would come back for and ask for more information. And it was always right on the cusp of a cut-off date, and always more money needed to do the next part of the application.
Yeah, it was like, okay, you just need 2 little things.
And they were always like, minimum $1,000 each. Yeah.
You don't quite, you're not quite there.
Yep.
Like,
Yep, so we qualified for the Home Start grant, then we had cash, then we had the Kiwi Saver, and then I even recall being in the lawyer's office, we're signing, and there still needed to be more money. And we came up with it.
And they made a mistake, and we paid for it.
So that was...
something to learn about.
Yeah, most definitely. And it's paid off in more ways than one. But I think with yourself, I know with your siblings, you're the first to own a home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're so proud, so happy.
I wouldn't have known how to do this without you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I would be still...
okay renting,
but
the flexibility was there, of course, but I would always think the end goal was for us to get into our own home, whether this might be our only home, or hopefully not. There's other plans along the way that we're aiming towards. And then surprisingly enough, it's not just the mortgage that we were paying for. That was something, you had to take into account the rates, and then the rates again, and then the insurance.
Didn't realise how much bullshit it is. I was like, what?
Yeah.
It's pretty much how much I have to assign my life to. But, I didn't care. As long as we got a home, that's all I was worried about. But, have to show my undies there, pretty much, to the world of, as you say, the banks.
Yeah. Yeah, so then after the first year with our initial bank, and then we're waiting to do the whole, renewal or refinance, restructure, and then there was no word. And I think we were definitely 6 weeks out before it was due, and I thought, okay, we're going to start hearing back from that lady, from the lady, the mortgage broker, and nothing. And I recall calling her, and it just was not...
useless. It was just a waste of time just getting biscuit money.
It was really such a letdown. And because I dealt with mortgage brokers before, and it's not, what their mahi is, what their work is, and so you're like, okay, but it just felt like just an afterthought. I just felt like we were an afterthought, which in the end we were. And it was a tough couple of months. Our mortgage pretty much quadrupled in the time that we scrambled to find another bank. And I remember I was just online, and you kind of do those quizzes, pick yes, pick no, and you don't know whether it's a scam or not. But I thought, well, I haven't got anything to lose. And I did choose one to ring me back. A few were trying to ring me back, but I thought, oh no, I can't trust it. Well, I didn't know. But and then the one phone call I took, it just changed our lives. Like it changed our mortgage life. And when we talked with the new mortgage provider, he said, yes, this is most definitely something that they see all the time. People unknowingly, getting shafted, and in the situation that we were in. And do you remember when we sat down with each other and were really, really honest, because I'd said, okay, we need to find X amount of dollars for the next however long, and let's talk about what goes in and out of our own personal bank accounts. And that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, because remember in our first year of our mortgage, we said, right, we're going to put the KiwiSaver down to the minimum. Going to focus on having these new bills of the house, and kind of whatever we do with the change of our own money, that's it. But I didn't realise really what we were both doing separately with our money. Yeah. And you were really honest when we sat down and, okay, let's open up our bank accounts. We'll do 1 full month of outgoings. And yeah, we were living pretty large with whatever we were expecting to spend on ourselves separately. And then when we came upon our new bank, and they helped us with not just our bank insurance, our super, all of that kind of thing, that was just such a step ahead for us, wasn't it?
Yeah. A learning curve.
Yep.
For me anyway. Never ever kind of done, I have, but yeah.
But it worked out for the best, and has still continued to teach us, because we're coming up 3 years in our whare, probably next month. And while we're a heck of a lot far away from paying off a mortgage, it feels far more stable, far more like you can see the end goal, which is still a long way off for us, but with some really good goals coming towards us, and us working towards the goals actually. But considering the whole start of this, which was just a phone call when you said, hey, let's go for a house, or someone said we could possibly apply for a home in this new division, and that kind of started the ball rolling for us. Yeah. I think the other thing that we did too, you try to clean up all your bills. Remember?
Yeah, my bloody what do you call it?
The buy now, pay laters, or afterpays.
Oh. No, not just the afterpays, it was student loan.
Student loan, that's right. We cleared that. That wasn't very much.
I was like, that was probably the only one that I was worried about, the student loan.
Yep.
Oh, that was one of the things that's stupid. What's her name?
Yeah, well, other mortgage broker.
Yeah, that was the thing that needed to be out of there, and the afterpay payments.
Yeah.
I mean, they were paid, but I had something at the time that it needed to be clear, and the whole thing needed to be shut
paid
off.
in one.
Like, don't do it again. Oh.
But that's okay. I mean, for myself, I'd never done afterpay or the buy now, pay laters, or even understood what that meant. The other good thing was, well, we hadn't incurred any hire purchase debt or credit card debt, even now, which was great. We have had probably our first big purchase since having our whare, which was, our vehicles that needed to be upgraded, which was fine. But once again, a learning curve to add to, the rest of our expenditure.
Yeah.
So that's been something that we've had to both be honest about and say, okay, this is the goal, we'll work towards this. But yeah, my thing is just expecting what my expectations for you were just completely different to what you understood, the path that we were going down. All the level of money or the debt that we were getting ourselves into, that's always a big commitment. One thing is buying a car, but the next thing, buying a home. That, and after a while, once you're through that stage of, oh my gosh, we've got a home, and then it just becomes normal. So no, very, very, I feel far more stable and in control, because I never felt control when we were in our rentals, which were wonderful and what we needed at the time, but always with the threat of someone else needs to come in, and that which means we have to leave.
Yeah. It was over the inspections, over the real estates coming over and saying, and then it was over things need to be attended and
Yeah, and then you were managing them for us.
It was over all the years that I've been renting and all that stuff. Kind of like have to leave the house open for them just to inspect, just to come and see if your house is all right. And I was over it, and now.
Yeah, now you've kind of got free reign to do, any little thing that you want to. And that's what people always say. If you want to paint a wall, if you want to bash down a wall or add something, there's no one's permission you have to ask.
Yeah, well, free from that, free from, just those things maybe little, but, from all these years just renting, it's like over it.
Yeah.
But, and saying that some places they don't hear anything from them. And I think pretty much, but you end up tending to do it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And then, you just tell the real estate what you've done. And it just depends. Some houses, there was one house in Australia that I had... I've never heard anything from them.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the ideal tenancy, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I was like, okay, so pretty much I had to do the stuff myself, which I didn't mind. I mean, house proud.
Yeah.
All that stuff. But when it comes to like the big things, like the, you need to change the boiler and all that stuff, and that was, they need to work on that.
I think now, because it lays on our shoulders, we're
now,
most definitely aware when something needs attention. You're far more better at the maintenance side of things, and I'm the one that crunches the numbers.
Yeah, lucky we don't have a boiler. I mean, we only got a gas one, so we didn't have to worry about a boiler anymore. Especially at this place here, so that's a big tick there. But other than that,
I think we thought we were being very smart buying, I always call this the tiny big house, and thinking that no one, we've got a lot of children, no children would come, but they have come slowly and left and stayed. So that didn't quite work out, but that's okay. Yeah.
But, yes, definitely couldn't make this without you, my darling.
It's been something. If I would change, I couldn't change the bankruptcy that happened for many reasons, and that's okay. That was big learning, and it probably curbed any unnecessary spending, because I was already thinking, I shouldn't think like this, but I don't deserve to have, some certain things because I got myself into that position. But then we were so fortunate when it came to applying for this house, and it was pretty much on the 7-year mark, it had clicked over. And so when it got processed, it didn't appear. I'd paid my dues, and that was a big learning curve too. So seeing, that kind of a big blip in, my financial history, it wasn't the be all and end all. At the time when it happened, okay, it was a big weight off my shoulders. And then moving through the 7 years, you kind of forget about it. And then when it came to this, it was okay. It showed that, you can get through that and still be able to, get through and have your dream happen. So that was okay.
I think back in, if I was at school, I'd probably manage how my finances, how to finance really. Yeah. Because I wouldn't know anything.
Yeah, we're still very different in how we structure our finances. But it took me a while to probably accept, without you I couldn't have what we have, and without me, you couldn't have what we have. So rather than I can do it by myself, when really to do it together has made it happen.
Yeah.
We've got different strengths and different things. So yeah, I think I grew up in a home because I knew about home ownership, and then moved into, home ownership just by living in our own home and understanding, the mortgage process and working out how a bank is going to lend, what it needs to look like from our end. So I was a bit ahead of it with you. But now you understand, once you've...
Back in the 80s, housing commission homes are like $65-$75 a week, and how that was like, wow, back then, wow,
Yeah. Still
65.
big money though back then.
Yeah, and then you're like, look at it now, it's going face value,
Yeah.
and that's just a housing commission home. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So you kind of like look at it like, why am I paying this much when it can go onto a home loan?
Yep.
And that's the only thing about what I've noticed in the years, how so much stuff has come in 30 odd years. It's just sad seeing homeless people.
Excuse me. But I think
very sad to see homeless people.
I think it's the path of how to get to home ownership that would have tripped you up, because I know when we would talk about it, even before all of this, it wasn't really something you would say to me, come on, let's do it. It was more something that was out of your reach. But I would look at like the actual realities of where we were, what we were doing, and thinking, no, we can get there. We just need to actually start moving and talking and, committing to it. So that was the difference. And there was a lot of, it felt like I was doing a lot of pulling you along with it. And you had your own reasons why you were just a bit more reserved than I was. But yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
And now you understand. So we're on the path that, when it comes time again to move or to buy again, we understand how we're going to do it, and I don't think there's going to be much resistance.
Well, just looking at what's happening now for the homeless, I've got no, I'm just like, yeah, okay, they will do it. I don't want to be in their shoes. And
yeah, I remember I would always say to you too, we are one letter or email away from, being homeless. That's how I felt. I just felt so in the hands of somebody else. And I know it always sounded dramatic, but that was literally how it was. We would always have whānau to go to, but you never want to be in that position.
No.
So the only other option, while we were financially okay, was to try to buy. So I think we did the right thing at the right time.
Yeah, I just think that how the situation's going with everyone that are struggling at the moment. I was just, missing a bullet, to be honest. Hey, darling.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Missing a big bullet. But yeah.
But no, thank you. Thank you for, it's always interesting to, relook at this whole, and it hasn't been that long, not even 3 years of coming into this part of our lives. And, it's good to reflect, because then we know, what it's taken to get us to here and to get a bit further along. Hasn't been easy, but it's been challenging, and it's been really, really worthwhile. And I think, this is us for a wee bit longer. But I don't think I'd change any other way if we hadn't have had those speed bumps along the way. Yeah. Yeah. And probably more so, it's taught me to communicate in a way and in a style with you that helps you understand, because we've both come from such different backgrounds and, how we've been brought up in our home life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, thank you. Thank you, Hoani.
My darling.